tunnel around. It also can conduct itself. It can conduct itself through metals.
Yes.
You know, down like a tunnel, down a metal like pathway. There's all kinds of weird stuff like that goes on, and it's always been going on in science. It's just not talked about for whatever reason, because it doesn't fit the conventional model. So we can't look at it, forget it. We're just going to that's kind of, again, science has fumbled over itself to get to this point until it was like literally. Here's the human condition. You guys ready for this? It was like this, and then boom, 1994, internet. At that moment, all of a sudden it was like, uh-oh, I can empower myself. I can get any information I want. I can get the answer to any question I've ever had. I can get the answer to any question that's ever been asked in this universe. It exists. Somebody has found it. It's been figured out. And now, our job now is more, what are we going to do about what has been found out? Because actually, UFO technology and space age technology exists right now on this Earth. We have the technology now to build a real spaceship, not a Saturn V rocket, which is total nonsense and a total friction machine, doesn't work.
Right.
It cannot get us to Saturn. It cannot get us out of the solar system. It can't get us to where we're going. So what are we going to do about it? Well, what we're going to do about it is we're going to go to folk technology, because we know that works. We can build it in our own backyard. We're going to have that realization. Here's a way to summarize that. The Ark was built by amateurs, the Titanic by experts. That summarizes that whole thing, right? That everything we have is there. It's all there. And now we're going to participate as best we can, as humanly possible, because nobody's perfect. And people go freak out. Well, I can't eat totally raw food. It's like, look, just eat the shaga, macunya, cacao, goji berry, aloe vera, noni smoothie. You can do that. You know what I mean? So we're getting out of this whole battling ourselves, because that's chaos. That causes more distortions and disturbances, and it doesn't. We, like us getting together here, we have to entirely together move forward as one. Right? We're not going to be battling ourselves anymore, beating ourselves up about nothing. We just participate in what's going on as best we can. That's how, this Ormus thing, for 10 years, I was beating myself over the head with it, trying to figure out how are we going to do this. Was it just complete debacle and total like cul-de-sac? And then one day, a friend of mine brought Dick Travis, into my life. And this guy's been a chemist for 60 years. And he said, this guy wants to work on this Ormus project with you. And I was like, okay, boom. And immediately, everything went and just lined up. And one of the things that was great about working with Travis, and has been great over the years working with Travis, he's a trained chemist. He's top chemist in the world. The only people who are beyond him may be Sasha Shulgin, and the only person who's on par with him may be Dr. Patrick Flanagan. And Patrick Flanagan's completely on board with the whole show, the whole shooting match. Patrick Flanagan is amazing who he is and what he's up to. By the way, Ormus hydrogen does exist, because that's what mega hydrate and crystal energy contain. Ormus hydrogen. So that's one other conversation. What's that? Hydrinos, yeah, like super powerfully negatively charged hydrogen. And what does that do? Well, it streams out of the earth and falls into the sun, just like Ormus does. It levitates, it falls upwards. And then, this whole idea of, like, with plants, cracking the secret of the rising of sap, the removal of light, heat, and oxygen, golden mean spiral pathways that allow the fluid substance to fall upwards. You know about all that stuff that Victor Schauberger tuned in on? When you get the Ormus going on with that stuff, it just goes... Victor Schauberger had a name for Ormus, Kohlenstoff with a dash, instead of Kohlenstoff just straight written, if anybody speaks German here. This is a really great thing to study, is the German interpretation of Victor Schauberger's work. He had a different word for levitative carbon, or some other substance that comes out of the earth, and it was Kohlenstoff with a dash to separate it from just Kohlenstoff, which just means carbon. And it was translated as carbone in Callum Coates's books. He called that substance carbone. That substance is Ormus. It's materials that react to centripetal action. It's materials that can charge and charge and charge, and suddenly they become a different property, like we saw with the gold and the magnet. Remember that? Right? And this stuff arises out of water. It also arises out of other places, but it is found in water. And that was Victor Schauberger's focus, was all on water. Okay, any other questions about any of this? Question over here.
Yeah, can you talk about mana tomorrow, or the next time you talk?
Mana?
Not mana, Maka.
Oh, Maka, absolutely. Yeah. The queen of the crucifores. The queen of the crucifores, the queen of the brassica family of radishes, broccoli, cauliflower, mustards, arugula, kale. the queen of that family is maca, and maca is a complete. It actually works on the hypothalamus, so it works on a master gland in your brain and lines up all your endocrine system. And maca is like just I'll show you pictures of what it looks like in its fresh state in Peru. I'll show you pictures of where it's growing. That's part of the presentation tomorrow. And then I'll show you pictures of how you would normally find it, which is as a powder in North America. I did sneak in some macas. I gave them all away last time I went to Peru. But Paul,
difference between like a acidic mushroom like Amanita versus Salsify versus other.
There's definitely an affinity for Ormus with all mushrooms that I have observed. Whether it was toxic mushrooms, whether it was just any ground mushroom, magic mushrooms, all the tree mushrooms, seem to have an affinity for Ormus. So one of the things we do with all our farming is we inoculate the soil with spores of endophytic mushrooms, and I think they're called saprophytic mushrooms, and then the other kind which are just support soil health. And it appears to me, what my opinion is that the mushroom is the interface with the kind of like energetic quasi-non-living world, like the mineral world, and the mushroom will eat that, and then the mushroom makes it available to the plant.
Moss doesn't grow on a rolling stone, but it does grow on a stationary stone. And moss is a fungi, and somewhat. And the moss literally dissolves the minerals in the rock and lives on the minerals in the rock. All fungi do that. They dissolve the minerals, make them soluble so that the plant can ingest them. And by doing this, you put a little bit of Ormus on them, that gets them going, but then they get their own Ormus. They're Ormus collectors, but when you're on regular agricultural soil, it's all been destroyed. The mushrooms have all been destroyed.
It's a dead soil. So this mushroom piece of the puzzle goes this far. As the mushroom advances in its own evolution to become a tree mushroom, eventually it forms spores. Those spores have been found at every level of the Earth's atmosphere, even 200,000 feet up. The only living material 200,000 feet up is mushroom spores. Now, how many people were aware of that? The mushroom spore shell then must contain a very high amount of Ormus to shield the DNA and the material inside from the vacuum of space. The mushroom spore can survive the vacuum of space, and it's very likely that mushrooms drifted into our atmosphere and the spores have been sitting here until the life in the oceans had developed enough carbon that it had started depositing carbon on the shores so that the mushrooms could become active and begin to eat that carbon and eventually form ecosystems in the basis of soil. Now, having said all that then what we should find, if we're scientific about it, is that, like, for example, the grape mushrooms, like reishi mushroom, if we crack the spore of reishi mushroom, since the fruiting body of the reishi mushroom is what we're going for, there might even be a better reishi mushroom product, which is its next product, which is its spore. So if we were able to get that spore and get the shell of that spore off, that we should even have something more powerful than reishi mushroom. Well, the Chinese have been on this for a long time, and it's finally hit the West. Here's how much more powerful reishi mushroom spore is than reishi mushrooms. 70 times more powerful. Wow. That's a 7 and a 0. So people will say, I tried everything. No, you have not tried nothing. You ain't tried nothing. You haven't tried nothing at all. You're not even in the door. You're in the car driving to the wrong stadium, in most cases. I could say now that, like, we're actually at the plate, we're swinging the bat. It could be a home run, but we are literally in the right stadium, and we're now we're in the ballpark, so to speak, right? And so we're like, okay, we're at the bat, we're at the home plate swinging now. Now, eventually we'll get to first base and second and third, and eventually we're going to win the game. It's going to take a while. Winning the game actually means, to me personally, this is all my personal opinion, obviously, is that we actually ascend. Now, what does ascension mean? It means we actually build spaceships and go see how big God really is. Instead of beating each other to death down here, right? I love what Steiner said. Steiner says this: in order to ascend, we have to conquer something below, inside our inner lower nature. And each step up is a step out of the inner abysmal state of fear, disagreement, hate, rage, anger, whatever those things are, right? And that what is beautifully spelled out. And then as we overcome each step, eventually we make it out of this, which is, it's beautiful here. And my God, it's kind of a junkyard now.
Well, I don't think you're right on that. I think this isn't. I think that what we're finding is that energetic
levels are shifting, so that's, I mean, in other words,